off as in the traditional manner of chanting Jai Radha Madhava, and then we'll get into the Bhagavatam. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Sodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Nandana Janaranjana Jamunatira Nachari Ilanata Yamunatira Vanachari Ilanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, thank you very much. Om Adgyana Tirmanandasya Gunanjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadhammayam Dadati Swapadanti Kam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Uttapada Kamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Jana Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaudavani Pacharini Nirvishesha Shunnavadi Pashtata Deshatani Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire. So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 81, Text 14. Before proceeding, I'd like to ask the blessings of His Grace Adipurush Prabhu and all of the assembled devotees so we may speak something truthful and in line with Guru Sadhu and Shastra. Hare Krishna. So I'll run through the Sanskrit and translations for the first two, and then the third one we can chant together. Sachalabdva dhanam krishnam natu yachittavan svayam swagrihan vidito gachan mahaddarshana nirvitaha. Translation: Although he had apparently received no wealth from Lord Krishna, Sudama was too shy to beg for it on his own. He simply returned home, feeling perfectly satisfied who have had the Supreme Lord's audience. Interesting point before we go on. Like oftentimes in interactions, sometimes we may feel, oh, I should have said this. I should have said that. I left this part out. This would have really done it for me. And the whole purpose, apparently, of Sudama's going to see Krishna was to try and ask for some help financially. And he wound up leaving without ever having gotten to that point. But despite that, despite the fact that he had apparently totally missed out on actually asking what he came to ask Krishna for, it says here, feeling perfectly satisfied. Why? Because in his heart, he really didn't care one way or the other. Got money, didn't get money. His his heart was fully satisfied just by seeing his best friend Krishna after so long. Aho brahmanya devasya drishta brahmanyata maya yad daridratamo lakshmim ashlishto bibratodasi. Sudama thought, Lord Krishna is known to be devoted to the Brahmanas, and now I have personally seen his devotion. Indeed, he who carries the goddess of fortune on his chest has embraced the poorest beggar. You could see the sweetness of this relationship. You may recall back when maybe we were in middle school or high school, and we had a crush on somebody, and we just had an interaction with them, and then we would go away from that interaction thinking about, oh, this was so nice, and they said this and they did that, and so that sweet love is that sweetness, that innocent affection is actually a perverted reflection of the real love and affection that we see displayed here between Krishna and his devotee Sudama. It's very much real, very much available, but we have to go to the source, not to the reflections we see here. But it's just very notable for me, the sweetness that's there. He's just thinking as he's walking away. Krishna, he's devoted. He said he's devoted. They say he's devoted to the Brahmanas, and now I've seen it. He's not only is he carrying the goddess of fortune on his chest in such a high position, so he's embracing even me, poorest beggar, so to speak. That sweetness of love. Okay. Kwaham Daridra Papiyan Kwa Krishna Shri Niketanaha Brahma Bandur Iti Smaham Bahubhyam Parirambitaha. Somebody like to chant? And we'll do two chanters.
Vaham Daritra Papyam Kwa Krishna Sriniketanaha Brahma Bandurite Smaham Bahubhyam Parirambitaha.
Uno más.
Right. Aham Taridra Papiyam Sva Krishna Shri Niketanaha Brahma Bandur Iti Smaham. It turned. Sorry, I was trying to get the Sanskrit disappeared. Bahubhyam Pariram Bitaha.
Beautiful. Kwa. Who am. Aham. I. Daridjaha. Poor. Papiyan. Sinful. Kwa. Who is. Krishna. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Shri Niketanaha, the transcendental form of all opulence. Brahma Bandhu, the friend of a Brahmin, not fit even to be called a Brahmin. Iti, thus. Sma, certainly. Aham, I. Bahubhyam, by the arms. Parirambhitaha, embraced. Translation: Who am I? A sinful, poor friend of a Brahmin. And who is Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, full in six opulences? Nonetheless, he has embraced me with his two arms. Purport: This translation is from Srila Prabhupada's English rendering of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya 7.143. Sudama was so humble that he considered his poverty to be his own fault, a result of sin. Such a mentality is in accord with the saying, Darijadosho gunarasi nasi. The discrepancy of being poor ruins heaps of good qualities. So, the thing that stuck out to me most prominently in this verse, or in these series of verses, um, was kind of a success formula that Sudama is indirectly espousing. And specifically, what he seems to be speaking about here, in a humble way, is the fact that he had the right attitude. And so many times in bhakti, we see that even if we make some Herculean effort for Krishna, we distribute 1,000,000 books or we chant 1,000,000 rounds, still afterwards we don't feel completely um, perhaps satisfied. We don't feel that we've transcended to a great deal more afterwards. But what actually does the trick, at least what's being espoused here and what we've seen in the scriptures, is doing those things with the right attitude. I remember Adi Purush Prabhu one time brought me into his lair down at the bottom of 3rd Street, and he had me sit down and watch this movie on Mother Teresa. And this is maybe 10 years ago. And it very much stuck with me, this one thing that she said, which was that something along the lines of, it's not required that everybody do big things. That's not what God wants to see. Everybody do some big thing. But what is required is we do small things with big love, with great love in our heart. And that's what's being exhibited here. We see Sudama did not bring some 10-course meal for Krishna with all kinds of different bells and whistles attached to his offering. Rather, he had just a little burlap bag of chipped rice. But because he was bringing that rice as an offering with love for Krishna, with this attitude of sincerity, of devotion, of I don't have anything else. Whatever I do have, though, I'm giving to you. Because he was bringing that attitude to the table for Krishna, then Krishna not only accepted his offering, but worshipped him. First thing he did when he arrived, he sat Sudama on his own bed and had Rukmini come in. They washed his feet. And of course, Sudama, this wasn't what he was going for, but this was Krishna's way of showing him and showing us as well that this is what actually does it for me. This is what actually makes a difference for you when you bring yourself to the table, as opposed to just bringing some opulent preparation. Again, making some Herculean effort, making some huge offering. If you just bring what you can with great love, with great devotion, with great surrender, then I will be pleased. How pleased will Krishna be? He'll be so pleased that as Sudama says in this, he's embracing me, even though I, who am just a lowly Brahmana, as he says about himself, just not even a Brahmana, a friend of the Brahman. Of course, he's not, but he has this attitude. Even me, who have nothing better to offer, as he's saying, basically, than some chipped rice in a bag. Krishna is reciprocating with me in such a deep way. And of course, he's not even sure yet how deeply and how amazingly Krishna is going to reciprocate with him. In the next couple verses, we'll see how he is going to come home and see that his whole life has been transformed. His wife has been transformed into this kind of celestial goddess, and his house has now become this enormous mansion, and he has all these attendants now waiting on him and his wife, and all from what? All from his devotion. He had this love for Krishna. So there's that loving element, that devotion, but how do we develop that devotion? That's also being alluded to here, and we see it in his humility. Again, in that last verse, he's saying, "I'm just a friend of the brahmanas. I'm not a real brahmana. I'm poor, so on and so forth." And we can also think of that like ourselves. Even if we have a ton of money, we can still think spiritually, who am I really? Ananda Bihari is working on a song. I hope I'm allowed to disclose this. His new breakout hit with Garangi called that's based on Vaishnava K, this book by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur that he wrote. I believe it was right around the time that he had went to the forest and was doing his rut of solo chanting. There's Ram, Hare Krishna. He's absorbed. And so he's talking about what kind of Vaishnava am I really? You know, and mind you, this is Bhaktisiddhanta speaking, who's an acharya and a nityasiddha from our perspective. And he's saying, I just want to go to the forest and chant alone for the sake of praise and recognition. He says, which are just like urine and stool of the donkey, I believe he says. This praise and that's what I'm really after. I might be going to the forest, I might be doing these austerities and stuff, but in reality, in my heart, and somewhere deep down in the bottom, I know that's what I'm really going for. I want some recognition. I want some praise, which are just like stool and urine. So what does that make me? It makes me an animal. It makes me like a very lowly animal who's doing things for the sake of really, really base material pleasures. Nothing really refined about that. And so he's talking like this. We could think also for me, why am I really doing things? Yeah, I'm chanting my 16 rounds. I'm doing my reading. I may show up to this program or that program. And ideally, yes, I mean, for most of us, there's that sense of I want to know Krishna or I want to deepen my relationship with Krishna. But we may also consider to what extent are we doing things with a sense of what am I going to get at? Am I going to get a little recognition for this? Am I going to get a little praise for this? We could be honest about that. Not only can we be honest, we should be honest to the extent that we are honest about that. To that extent, we can make a real deep offering to Krishna and say, Krishna, you know me better than I know me. And you know that, yes, I'm doing these things, I'm doing this devotional service for you. I'm trying my best, but you see the little tinges here and there in my heart of wanting some either praise or recognition or whatever it could be. And when we fully offer that as well and say, Krishna, please help me. Krishna, I have issues. I'm like a fly in the ocean, in the middle of the ocean, searching for for something worthless, drowning in the waves of material suffering, material enjoyment, acceptance and rejection, helpless, totally helpless. Please help me. Please help me. Then Krishna, um, then we get Krishna's attention. There's a line in the movie Django where Leonardo DiCaprio said, "Before you had my interest, but now you have my attention." And so we may be chanting and hearing and going through the motions. Yeah, we have Krishna's interest. He's interested. Okay, let's see what this guy does. But as soon as we break out of that comfort zone of just kind of going through the motions and doing our duty, so on, and we actually make an offering fully with our heart. This is where I'm at. I need help, Krishna. I have serious, serious issues in my heart that I can't resolve on my own, that I need your help with. Then we have Krishna's attention. And what happens when we get Krishna's attention? Major transformations. Major transformations. That's what's being talked about here in the story of Sudama. Major things Krishna can do. Krishna is God. What can he not do? So if we really make that sincere offering from our heart, this sense of I have nothing, or, I'm I'm fallen, and we make that offering, not just one of our japa. Japa is good, of course. hearing about hearing the Bhagavatam, hearing CC, hearing about all very good things. But how can we dial it up to 11? You know, how can we really fully make that offering? That requires some honesty and some intensity, some lolium, as is described. So I was reading this quote that I think I originally heard quoted by Janardar Swami back in the day. Back in the day, Janardar Swami would give the lecture at Bhagavatam class every single day, actually, at the Bhakti Center, and those were very dear times in my heart. I was always amazed the fact that he could. How do you give a Bhagavatam class every single day? You know, even for me, once a month is kind of like, okay, I got to prepare for this and see what I'm going to say. Every day, I mean, he wasn't doing much. It was just flowing because he's absorbed. He's absorbed in Bhagavatam. So he's drawing from a place that's unlimited. So there's no question of running out of things to say or being repetitive. In any case, I remember that time he was honing in on this one quote, which was by Lao Tzu. Interesting, Lao Tzu, who wrote The Art of War. He said this incredible quote that I've often drawn on over the years. He said, watch your thoughts become your words. Watch your words become your actions. Watch your actions become your habits. And from proper habits, or from your habits come your character. And from having a proper character, you reach the right destination. Or, by having an improper character, then you reach the wrong destination. But it all starts with the thoughts. So it's helpful to kind of go back to the root, I found, because there may be so many ancillary little branches and stuff that may be showing different fruits of different things. But where are all those fruits ultimately coming from? Where are the results that we're seeing ultimately coming from? They're coming from what's being fed into the roots of the tree. And what are those roots for us, for our life, for our destination? It's our thoughts. So it all comes down to our thoughts. Do we want to be advancing in Krishna consciousness in a deep way? Do we want to be developing this love for Krishna? Then we have to consider what am I thinking on a day-to-day basis? And that perfectly aligns with what we're instructed to do, which is hearing and chanting about Krishna. Because the more we hear and chant about Krishna, especially in a deep way, really deeply hearing and chanting, the more we're thinking about Krishna, the more our minds are absorbed in Krishna, the more we're having Krishnized thoughts. And when we have Krishna thoughts, then we naturally reach a Krishna destination. We become more pure. We become more devoted. We get eyes that are anointed with the salve of love for Krishna. And our love for Krishna can grow and grow and grow. So it's the same old answer as Jayadvaita Swami always would say. You have to hear and chant about Krishna. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janiyat Yasu Vairagyam Gyanam Chayarohitikam. And performing devotional service one immediately acquires causeless knowledge and detachment from the world. Devotional service means hearing and chanting about Krishna. And that's why I should know this, but I think it's Rupa Goswami, or maybe it's Sanatan, who says that the number one, it's Rupa, I believe, and he's saying it in reference to his Upadeshamrita, the instructions, the essence of instructions. And he's saying that ultimately all rules, all instructions are subservient to one particular rule, which is to always remember Krishna, aka always be thinking about Krishna, and never forget Krishna. By this remembrance of Krishna, by these Krishna thoughts, which come through hearing and chanting regularly in a deep way, then we reach the right destination. You can be sure of it. It's the cure-all. Kali Yuga means limited brain power, means limited willpower. And so we need direct flights, right? If we get a transfer here and there, we're probably going to mess it up. Going to miss the flight, like I've done before. But if we have a direct path, what is the direct means through which we can realize and ultimately attain love for Krishna? Then it becomes much easier. So what does that direct means? Hearing and chanting deeply about Krishna. Through that, then we develop this attitude this Trinadapi Sunichena, Trodord Api Sahishnuna, this attitude required so that our offerings to Krishna can be complete, can can get Krishna's attention, not just his interest, but get Krishna's attention. And when we get Krishna's attention, what happens? As we see in the story of Sudama, big stuff happens. Major shifts in our lives occur when we can get Krishna's attention. So that was what I got out of this particular pastime. Definitely one of my favorite pastimes. And the key takeaway for me has always been Sudama's attitude. That he's imbibed this attitude of total humility and surrender to Krishna, not wanting anything from Krishna in reality, just wanting to serve him and ultimately having this genuine love for him. So, of course, the Bhagavatam is full of very nice stories, but they're all meant to be instructive. And so this instruction for me from this story has always been developing this attitude of pure surrender, humility, and love for Krishna. That's what gets Krishna's attention, and that's where major transformations can take place. That's how we can actually get prema bhakti, love for Krishna. So how to get that attitude? Again, just to summarize, hearing and chanting deeply about Krishna. Through that, we have Krishna thoughts, and through those Krishna thoughts come the right words, actions, habits, and ultimately character. And through that Krishna character, then everything is achieved. That's about all I had to say. I'd love to expand the conversation a bit more and see if there's any reflections or corrections or questions that we can go into. Jamuna Jai, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for class, Anupam. Since you mentioned Gurudev so much, I felt I had to chime in. Two other things that he says often, I'm sure you've heard that speak to this. He says, where attention goes, energy flows. And when we put our attention on Krishna, when we put our attention on our sadhana, our energy goes there and it pulls us away from the lower and the untrue nature. So I wanted to reflect on that. And then the other thing is he says so often, you have to keep hearing good ideas. You have to keep hearing good ideas. And that's what it's not just, it was a good idea to, like, I don't know, brush your teeth, but it's a good idea. These are good ideas, how the people in the Bhagavatam act. So, and then the third thing he always says is that it's about the mind. It's about the mind, like what you put into the mind. So I just wanted to reflect back since you brought him up. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Yeah, so important. And towards the end of the CC, I brought this up in class before, but Prabhupada, there's this purport where he said, if the members of the society do not read the books, in other words, they're not getting these good ideas put into their heads and their hearts on a regular basis, then after some time, they'll simply eat, sleep, and fall down from their exalted position. Very heavy. Even if you're chanting your rounds, Prabhupada's saying, even if you're doing your service, if you're not reading the books, if you're not getting good ideas put into your head, put into your heart on a regular basis, and after some time, you'll just eat, sleep, and fall down and get pulled back into the material whirlpool. The very heavy gravity. It's like a black hole, basically. The material world is like this huge, extreme gravity, always pulling, trying to pull us. But these books that Prabhupada has given us, Prabhupada himself compared to the ship, this kind of rocket ship that has enough power that if we just stay in there and we do our duty on board, then we can get away from this black hole that's constantly pulling with this heavy gravity, trying to get us back into that mire of material existence. So yeah, we have to be hearing good ideas. Yeah, so much could be said, but is there anybody else? Other questions? Comments? Yeah, Prabhu.
Oh yeah, hi. John, did he say something? He said I could speak?
Yeah.
Oh,
Thank you.
Hi, John. Yeah, he was very humble in front of Krishna, not expecting it. I don't know if he really wanted it in the first place, but my question is, can a devotee be too humble in the face of Krishna?
If it's genuine humility, then no. Krishna loves humble people. Yeah, no, it's a matter of heart and honesty. Genuine humility, definitely not. We see examples of extreme humility, or there's a term for it, dainya, is exhibited amongst devotees who have prema bhakti, and Krishna likes that. Krishna likes that. No, that's a key component of developing love for Krishna. Trinada pisu nichena. You have Bhima Prabhu.
Yeah, I was just going to say, oh, wonderful class, Prabhu, of course. I love the fact that we work together to some extent. I was going to say about as far as being too humble to Krishna, if you're in, which we are, but if you're in the association of Krishna directly, so to speak, it's all about your ras. So it's not like just Krishna wants you bowing down like a Brahmin. Krishna also wants you challenging him. He also wants you to stand strong on his behalf, and stand strong if you disagree with him. This is in the association of Krishna. This is very high. But let us not think that this is all about, stop it. And my horse is knocking over the wheelbarrow here. Stop it. Um, anyways, yeah, Krishna's always messing with us. And which makes this Krishna conscious path a delightful path. It's not all about full dandavats or denigrating yourself. We all know that we're here for a reason. We've taken these bodies. The very essence of who we are here is couched in that ego, and we have it, and it's part of us, that false ego. And we can even take our false ego and use it in Krishna's service. That's why the devotees are so full of character when you get to know them. Just they have depth and well-roundedness and open hearts, and that's because they are who they are. So don't think that you have to artificially mimic being humbler than a blade of grass. Sometimes somebody steps on a devotee, it's time to take them down, and you're not going to be humble as a blade of grass then, because someone has harmed a devotee. So there's all sorts of rasas to have with Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Nice. Yeah, thank you, Bhima Prabhu. Yeah, definitely certain instances through which we need to step up and make a stand. And that humility, like Bhima was saying, it's couched in a deep understanding, of things. It's not artificial. It comes from the more one knows oneself, the more one sees the different things in the heart that are preventing one from actually loving Krishna, fully surrendering to Krishna, fully carrying out the orders of the spiritual master. The more one understands, wow, I have serious problems, and it comes from a very deep place of honesty and realization. It's not an artificial imposition, but rather, so much is caked on over the billions of lifetimes, of us trudging through the material world, enjoying this and that. And so much is caked onto the heart, and so the more we start cleaning the room in a deep way, the more we can see that dust. And then oh my gosh, look at this, look at that. I got problems. And so that's where it comes from. It's not necessarily a state of forced, feeling. Um, but yeah, there's a great story that I forget who told me. Maybe it was Nanda Bihari, or maybe it was Ganesham himself. I forget. But there's a story. I think it was Ananda Bihari. He was saying that Ganesham Prabhu, very beloved old school member of the Bhakti Center community, was always very close with Radhanath Swami. And there was an instance in which um, he was serving Maharaj, and something came up. I forget exactly what it was, but Ganesham somebody needed to be confronted about something, and Ganesham kind of took the humble route, so to speak. Instead of like speaking out, confronting them, whatever, taking control of the situation, he just kind of took a more passive approach, and it ended up in being an issue, whatever it was. I forget exactly. But then Radhanath Swami saw the situation, and he said, Ganesham, for you, to be humble means to speak out, or something like that. To be humble means to step forward, put yourself forward, and be more exacting in certain situations. And so it all comes from a place of honesty, and sincerity.
Yeah, and it may play out differently for different devotees. For example, if you're an extrovert, for you, a humble thing to do would be to keep your camera off during class. But if you're introverted, then keep your camera on. That's humility for you. Yeah, am I applying the principle properly? Bhima Prabhu, turn off your camera and mute yourself.
No, wait a minute. I'm an introvert. I've got the camera on. I'm actually very shy. Hold on. Let me go away now. I'm just blending into the wall right now.
Cow down wall. Yeah.
Just a comment there. I remember Ganesham saying that. He also said, I remember him saying, for someone humble, maybe for someone like me who doesn't speak up shy, so it's basically speaking up. Remember that Anupama Prabhu. And then also he said, you have to remain in the fire of Krishna consciousness. I was coming from Ganesham. Just remember that. Thank you, Krishna.
Nice.
If Vaisheshika Prabhu describes this comfort zone, then stretching zone, and the other one, what's after that? None of your business zone, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and it all comes
Growth,
back to
growth
honesty.
zone.
Cross down.
Growth zone is after that.
Okay. Thank you, Vinisha.
Yeah. It all comes back to honesty. We have to really be honest with ourselves. That's also second chapter of the Bhagavatam. Krishna said, Srinvatam Swakata Krishna Punyashravana Kirtana Hridantaksaha Bhadrani Vidhunoti Sukritsatam. That Krishna cleanses the desire for material enjoyment from one who has developed the urge to hear his messages. But in the very beginning of that verse, Krishna is described as the benefactor of the truthful devotee. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses the desire for material enjoyment from the heart. And then there is, forgot the verse, but it said that this Bhagavatam is sung, heard, and accepted by purified devotees who are thoroughly honest with themselves. So that's the only way we can. That's the way we can make quick advancement, where we can really self-diagnose properly and move accordingly. We have to figure out how to be honest. I take a good look at ourselves and self-diagnose and respond accordingly.
Can I ask an open question? Anyone can address it. Taking an honest look at yourself, how does that work for, can someone be the judge in their own case? Can someone see themselves clearly? Or should we seek some intervention sometimes from a devotee who is favorable to it? Here he is, interjector.
Interjection man. I'm wearing a cape of interjection.
Yeah. Are you giving me honest feedback during class?
Yes.
Thank
real
you.
quick. To thine own self be true, and therefore no man can be false to any others, or you cannot be false to any other man. That is authentic sincerity. Prabhupada said that's the one thing. Sincerity. That's all you need is sincerity. Krishna takes care of the rest. Do you really want Krishna? Do you really want to leave this world? It's really deep, but all it takes to plummet to that depth is sincerity. Just keep your shoulder at the wheel of knowing yourself. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Okay, let's turn it over to the temple room. The temple room is melting. Yes. Hare Krishna, melting. Your heart is melting.
Hare Krishna. We're praying to Prabhupada what to say. we just can reflect some very good points that you made about, well, the text is about how he was satisfied, how pleased he was after his visit. And we can understand, Srila Prabhupada tells us, our satisfaction comes not by directly seeking our own pleasure or satisfaction, but by pleasing Krishna. And when Krishna is pleased, then we're pleased. So Sudama, we went to see Krishna. We go to the temple to see Krishna. And like you mentioned, our attitude, our consciousness in going there is so important that we're actually there offering ourselves, trying to please the Lord. And as a byproduct, we become satisfied. And one of the other things you mentioned about was about book distribution. I had two experiences recently. We know you went out on book distribution yesterday with Domi. One place I stop along 6th Avenue almost every day is a little fruit stand. And there's a Muslim man there. And I buy some apples. And I how are you? You know, I say, assalamu alaikum, alaikum salam, remind him about God. He asked me, how am I? I say, alhamdulillah, which means by God's grace, I'm fine. And then I gave him book. So I said, can I give you a book? He said, okay. So I gave him a book, and he was looking at the book. You know, it comes from the Muslim tradition. It's a Hare Krishna, one of Prabhupada's books from the BBT. And he put the book in his pocket. And then a few times later when I came, I said, can I give you a book? He said, okay. So I gave him a book, and he was looking at the book. And then the third time I was there, about a week later, I was getting out of the vehicle, and I thought, well, let me give him a book. And I thought, well, I already gave him 2 books. I put the book back in the vehicle. Then I thought, well, Krishna seems to be nudging me. No, bring book. I put it into my pocket. And when I came over there, I purchased some apples. And then he grabbed the book out of my pocket. I was too shy. It was so similar to the thing with Sudama Vipa, where I was thinking, well, he's not going to want this. He already has book, and you know, it's not really the tradition that he's following. But he was so eager to get that book. I was shocked. Prabhupada said they're trying for these books, and even after all these years, I somehow don't completely get that the people are hungry, and that these books are really what they really need. But anyway, he grabbed that 3rd book, and I was astonished. Uh-oh.
And when Adi went back to his car, it was the limo, right?
It was better than a limo. It was Krishna vehicle using Krishna.
Krishna mobile. Yeah.
Other thing that happened is recently.
That was a good one, Ananda.
Thank you.
One other thing that happened, we only have 2 seconds before the conch show. I brought one book into the gas station to buy gas, and then I came out to the car again. I was pumping the gas, and the attendant came running out of the gas station, came running up to me, and I was like, oh my God. He said, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. I was like, wow, that's amazing. That these things are really happening, and they're direct experience. Of course, Prabhupada, Hare Krishna.
I did that right. Why you push that damn
By His grace, one can cross the ocean and clear suffering, obtain the mercy of Krishna. When the loose family comes is purified by the words emanating from His lotus mouth. Attachment to His lotus feet is a perfection that fulfills all.
Lord, open my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord, birth and afterbirth. For whom ecstatic prayer emanates, my ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of His character. Our spiritual masters, the ocean of mercy, the king of the poor, Lord, our master, the Lord of peace. O Master, be merciful unto us. Give shade in the lotus feet. May your fame be spread all over the three worlds. We take shelter in the lotus feet.
Jai Shri Prabhupada. Jai Arjuna Prabhu. Jai
Jaya Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. Welcome to the Afterglow. Okay, Joshua, I'm gonna put the WhatsApp group link in the chat so you can join. And while I'm doing this, please someone say something uplifting. A reflection, an angle of vision, please. Anupama Prabhu is still here. There he is. Okay. All right, Anandi, please share a reflection or ask a question. Bhima Prabhu is here backing up Anupam. He has all the answers. Yeah. Anandi.
I have all the wisecracks.
Yeah.
I have a
Vanessa.
question. Yeah, if Anandi, while Anandi is thinking, Hare Krishna, a question for Anupam Prabhu. I really appreciated what you said. Apologies for my headphones. I appreciated what you said about being on guard, about looking for recognition in our services. and offering that to Krishna as well to make sure we're not hiding anything. But can you give us some examples of where you've found that you have been looking for recognition, like what it looked like, and maybe something like how it, maybe an example that might have surprised you even, where pride potentially was lurking that you weren't aware in your service?
He's
Hare Krishna.
tall, he's dark, he's handsome, he's intelligent.
He's perfect.
You're talking to your horse, Bhima?
Anupam doesn't have a chance. Anupam has no idea how he shines to us. So don't put him on the spot in regards to that. Let him stay quietly in the background like he does. Hare Krishna.
Well, how do I follow that? But I definitely saw it bear its head. Living in the ashram was like and I see it all the time. First of all, but one way that surprised me, as you asked, was I remember being in the ashram at different times, and when I knew that like people weren't really going to be at morning program, then somehow it became so much more difficult to go morning program. Because it's like you want to be seen, or like rather you don't want to be the guy that's not there, you know? And so it's like, okay, I'm not actually on the transcendental platform in which I'm just excited, happy to get up at 4 a.m. and go to Mangalarti. Actually, I'm doing this to save face in some way.
Yeah, you wanted to be seen.
Want to be seen and want to not come off like you're not serious, or like you're not advanced, or whatever. And I remember in the period, this is a big lesson for me, in the period in which between when I was living in the ashram and when I got married, to Mani Manjari, it was like the most difficult time of my life spiritually. And I think a big part of the reason why is because I had nobody to hold me accountable. Like when you're just out on your own doing your own thing, then nobody knows if you get up and chant your rounds, or if you're.
Is Mani Manjari doing that service now?
Yeah,
Holding you
she keeps me in
accountable.
check.
Good.
It's a huge
Good.
thing. It
Yeah.
really is. I mean, subtly, it's one of those things like you're saying, Venetia, you don't even realize it necessarily, why you're doing the things you're doing. Of course, of course, the goal, you want to come from a place of love and devote, but that takes work and effort and time. And you need to talking to myself, we need to situate ourselves in a place in which we can develop. And we're not all always motivated by pure love. A large portion of our motivation in the conditioned stage comes from saving face and um, presenting ourselves in a certain way. It's a good thing. It's a great thing. That's what makes humans achieve more and more. And in economics, it's called the invisible hand. That we have this hand. It's always watching over us and pulling us forward. But what is it made up of? It's made up of a desire um, to advance and to be seen as advancing, and as accomplishing things. Um, so yeah, that was a stark realization for me that I've had more and more over the years, is that yeah, I have to some extent, by my spiritual master's mercy, Prabhupada's mercy, some desire to develop love for Krishna. That sincerity is there to an extent, but until it's taken over myself, I have to work with what I've got, which is largely a desire to, be seen, and um, to to feel successful, and
Even in a crowded room, you can see Anupam.
yeah, yeah.
Bhima Prabhu told me privately that you're a demigod, Anupam Prabhu.
Even now, all these wonderful devotees. My God, I'm like, oh Lord, I got a shot. Anyways, yeah, I wish being seen in the temple room was my big problem. I mean, wow, that's amazing. if I
Well, that's
I
not
have
where they
nothing
end.
else to say. Hare Krishna.
I once saw Bhima Prabhu in the temple room, and I first smelled him, and then I saw him. He smells good, though. Smells like a devotee. In his humility, Bhima said, "Do I smell like a horse?" But he did not. Okay, enough of glorification of Bhima Prabhu. It's Anupam Prabhu's day. Yeah, it's Anupam's turn to get glorified. Yeah, there's one thing. Imagine you're judging some devotee in your mind, maybe subtly you're judging or kind of looking down at them, and then Krishna interferes, and Krishna arranges a situation where you're in trouble and this person does something good to you. That's the most crushing experience ever. So we may be drowning in pride, but then Krishna always interferes if we're sincere and open.
Sometimes, if anybody really wants to, like, go skydiving, let's say, skydiving of the soul, if you pray to Krishna, do whatever it takes to purify me. I don't care what it is. Like, make that prayer. You will be woken up to something you might have been blind to for your whole life. That's how deep it goes. And Krishna will give you, if you ask for something like that, he will give you something like that. But we take it. Prabhupada gave us a way in which to take it, to bear that cross of purification in a slow, enjoyable chanting, dancing, and feasting, and listening to wonderful devotees like Anupam. They sort of like this model of what we strive to be like, which is so necessary to have people who are exemplifying such wonderful traits, the qualities of a Vaishnava. So, but I was just saying, as far as the big shift Anupam was talking about, if you want one of those shifts, a paradigm shift, you want to like ask Krishna, am I blinded to something within myself, deep, deep, deep? Then ask him to do what's necessary to wake you up. And then you'll see Krishna in your life and you'll never forget Krishna in your life. Hare Krishna.
Let's quiz Bhima Prabhu. What's the one-liner that Vaisheshika Prabhu has to describe what you just said?
I stand to be corrected.
I live to be corrected. Yes.
I live to be corrected.
Yeah.
That's what marriage is. You want someone to correct you? Get married.
Yeah, that's what should go on the ring. I live to be corrected. Yeah. I have always remember and never forget on my ring. Always remember, and Chinmay Radha has never forget Krishna. But I live to be corrected is a good one for a marriage ring. If I marry Bhima in my next life, that will be on our wedding ring.
Why are you so gay?
Okay. Okay, Anandi.
I was told on that line, when I lived in the ashram, my guru said, a householder, if you're married, you will be enlightened first before the swamis. Because, if you think about it, a monk lives in the ashram, he has his own private room, he'll get praised by all the devotees, they tell him how wonderful he is. But if you're a householder, you have children, guess what? They'll tell you exactly, if you think you're so wonderful, they'll tell you exactly all your faults and where you're at. And so every day you will be corrected. And so, a householder will be enlightened first. Always remember that. But also, I'm kind of, I have no thoughts today at all after the class. The only thing I can think of is that by the grace of the Guru, one will, that's all one needs, the grace of the Guru. And I'd rather be a fool in the Guru's ashram than an learned person somewhere else. And I also say that all paths lead to the same source. That's what I believe. It may be blasphemy to some people, but really you can call it whatever, but you eventually you eventually end up in the same space of consciousness. And to realize the self, I'm still struggling with that. Like, what is that? how do you realize the self? So the grace of the Guru, one can only hope, and the grace of your family by telling you exactly where you're at. I mean, I miss that. I miss that about being far away from family. That's all.
Well, Nandi, thank you for being in our family. You're such a loving, caring family member.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Couldn't
Okay,
do it, you guys.
thank you, Anandi. Anupam, you can summarize now. We can finish it off. And then let's see who's going to say Hare Krishna. Joshua is going to say Hare Krishna. Okay, Anupam, summarize. Joshua, get ready.
Okay. I think it all boils down to that Lao Tzu quote from our thoughts, our proper thoughts come proper words, from proper words come proper actions, from proper actions come proper habits, and when you have good habits, then you reach a good destination. And so the root is always how can we be thinking good thoughts, and the way to think good thoughts is to hear and chant about Krishna. Through that, then we'll develop the right attitude, and we'll reach Krishna's lotus feet.
Thank you, Anupam. How long does it take to develop a habit? 30 days? 60 days? Yeah?
30.
I don't know. It's been a while.
30. Yeah, it's more like 30 lifetimes, you know. So, okay, Joshua, Prabhu, your turn.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. That was perfect. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Hare Krishna. Happy Friday.